Scams targeting older adults are on the rise, and financial crimes have become one of the biggest threats facing our senior community. These scams often rely on fear, urgency, and impersonation, costing victims not only their savings, but their peace of mind. Joining us today is Detective Bill Weaver with the Volusia Sheriff's Office. Detective Weaver investigates financial crimes and works directly with victims. He's here to break down the most common scams targeting the elderly, what to do if your loved one is contacted, and how families can protect themselves before it's too late. Detective Weaver, we hear about scams all the time. How serious is the problem for seniors here in Deltona?
Well, first off, it's great to be with you here, Catherine. It's very serious, and a lot of people don't understand the depth of it. FBI statistics put financial crimes on the rise approximately 85% in the last decade, and the losses probably exceed $3 billion. That's a lot of money, and what you're usually talking about is these are people's life savings, or a significant portion of it. So when you factor that in, it's a really serious problem, but it isn't restricted to just seniors. Younger folks get caught in these scams too. Remember, the scammers do this for a living, so it's what they do, and they're very good at it.
So what makes people so vulnerable to these scams that are out there?
A lot of times, and while again, younger people do get caught in these situations a lot, the target predominantly is for older folks. And the reason that they're vulnerable is, I believe, it's a situation is being out of touch with some of today's technology and how we do business. An example might be this. You take technology and how things were conducted in the business world from 1975 to 2000, a 25-year period. 1975, when you went to buy a home, you went to an attorney or a title office, you sat down. It was an in-person transaction. Same thing for opening bank accounts or any other financial transaction. And then you move, I mean, you're talking about a period of time when smartphones didn't exist. In 75, home computers weren't around, and even cell phones. You were talking really in the early 2000s when smartphones became something that we could utilize for our everyday lives. Then you go from 2000 to 2025. In that same 25-year period, you can basically conduct everything that you do legally and financially on your cell phone. You can buy a house, buy a car, you can sign legal documents, you can surf the internet for things, you can purchase everything. So again, you're going from a very technological world now to a period of time when a lot of seniors didn't have that ability, didn't understand it. And if you don't understand it, it's easy for someone to call you and give you a lot of technological terminology that doesn't make sense to you. But again, because you're not savvy in that world, it's very easy to get talked into doing something you should not do.
So what are you, as the Sheriff's Office, what are you seeing as some of the most common scams that are out there right now?
Well, probably, I would say you're probably looking at 4 or 5 that are common. They reoccur, and the first would be, and this is not in any particular order as far as statistically how frequently, but the first one is very common, we see it all the time, is arrest scams. Someone calls you and says, there's a warrant for your arrest because you failed to show up for a jury duty. No one ever got put in jail for not showing up for jury duty, first off. But a lot of people don't understand that because they're law-abiding folks. A lot of times they've done everything they're supposed to do in life. They've never had contact with law enforcement. So when somebody calls up and identifies themselves as a law enforcement officer and says there's a warrant for your arrest, they tend to believe that because they don't know that that's not really a possibility. The other thing is, maybe a very like scam with the arrest thing is someone you know has been arrested. These guys, the scammers are very good at checking the public databases, and they'll see that an individual was arrested, say, over the weekend or the previous day. Then they check social media, find out who the parents or maybe family members are, call that individual because everything is on the internet. Your address, your phone number, usually people put, especially social media, if you go into Facebook or any of the other things, you're going to have your birth date. A lot of people will put their legitimate birth date down there. So they call up with some information and they give you bits and pieces that let you believe, or that lead you to believe they know what they're talking about and they're a legitimate source of information, and that they've been contacted by the jail because John Smith, your son, is trying to post bond, and they ask you to go to, say, either Publix or CVS or whatever, and get gift cards. Call them back and give them the PIN numbers on the back, and it's going to cost $1,000. The problem with that is if you're knowledgeable of that procedure. You know that bail bondsmen don't take PIN numbers off from gift cards. That's not how that system works. But again, they're targeting a group who are unfamiliar with the normal day-to-day operations. So you've got the arrest scams. A common one that's just not related to modern technology is contractor scams, where people will be quoted a price by someone who knocks on their door and tells them that they need to have a tree taken down or a driveway resurfaced. They'll do part of the work, then go back and tell them it's a bigger job than we thought, and you've got to pay us in advance, and it's going to cost 3 times what you originally wanted. This targets predominantly older folks because they're out of touch with, many times out of touch with what prices are in today's market. And the individual seems to be honest. They seem to be reputable. They're courteous. They're polite. And they would like to have the work done to start with. So they figure, well, they're answering a need that I have. So let me just pay what they're asking because they're probably not scamming me. And they find out later on what they've paid for is probably 3 times the price of what it should be. Another frequent scam we get a lot of is either the lottery or the Publishers Clearinghouse. A lot of people are unaware Publishers Clearinghouse went out of business. They don't exist anymore. But unfortunately, a lot of people are unaware of that, and they get a call and they say, oh, we're from Publishers Clearinghouse, you've won the whatever $1 million prize it is, and you'll need to pay the tax on that first before we can release those funds to you. Now, anybody who kind of takes the moment to step back and think about that goes, geez, I always read in the news when they say somebody got the lottery that when they opted for the initial payout, they only got X amount, which was less than the original amount, and that was because they had to pay the tax on it. That's the way it works. They take the money out of the disbursement, not ask you to pay it up front. But these individuals work on something else which is almost pervasive through every scam, and that is a sense of urgency. Well, unless you're willing to pay this up front and agree to it now and provide us with a credit card number or some bank funds, we're going to have to go to the next person on the list. So all of a sudden, you've got an individual who was just told they won $1 million and then told, but unless you're able to act in the next 15 minutes, we're going to give it to somebody else. So it's that sense of urgency. And for every person that probably catches on to that and knows that that's not a legit offer, they may have to work their way down to 10 or 11 people, but on the 12th call, they'll get that person who will believe in that and go to the bank with a paper bag, fill it full of money, and go to an ATM and feed money in until they've satisfied that. And what they found out was they just sent money through use of a QR code to somebody's Bitcoin account in Nigeria. And usually that's not retrievable, unfortunately. So, but those are some of the common scams that we get. And when I say common, I mean it's like every week somebody comes in with those types of scams.
And I know you touched on some of the red flags, like if someone's asking to be paid in gift cards or what? Exactly. What are some other red flags?
Exactly. I mean, the red flags is all the time. Again, the sense of urgency. I'm a contractor, but I need you to pay up front, and we can only do this job today because we're in your neighborhood. That's bad. No legit contractor needs your money up front. They have operating capital. The other one is, again, the sense of urgency with the bail bonds, or the warrant for your arrest. You need to pay us now. Well, if you don't take care of it now, patrol deputies are going to be knocking on your door to take you into custody. The sense of urgency that we've got to do this now or something's going to happen. Or the individual gets a call from the bank. Your account has been compromised. We need to move the money into a different account. I'm going to ask you to give me your login for your computer, and I'm going to take control of that, and I'll go into your bank account and we'll move that money, but we have to do it now. What a lot of people forget is most older folks deal with the banks on an in-person basis. I do everything online, so does my wife, so does everybody else I know, maybe of my generation, but a lot of people, back in the day when you opened an account, you had to actually walk into the bank. You don't need to do that anymore. You can do it all over line. But from the people who walked in the bank, if they think back hard enough, they'll remember the last time they were in the bank, there's a sticker on the front door, and it says insured by the FDIC. The Federal Depository Insurance Company insures all deposits up to $250,000. If money is taken out of that account by straight up old-fashioned bank robbery with guns, or it is taken out through fraudulent means, through technology by an account takeover, or any other thing that you don't aid in, they're going to make that money whole. So when somebody calls up and says, your account's been compromised. We need to move that money out. You need to just hang the phone up, go down to the bank manager, walk in and do it old school style. Talk to them in person, and they're going to tell you they've been scammed. They'll probably shut your account down anyway and open it up in a new account. But again, that's the way to deal with it. People need to stay away from questionable situations over the phone or over the internet. You can deal in person. There's no sense of urgency.
How do people protect themselves? Like if you have older loved ones, and how involved should people be in their elderly family members, situations?
A lot of older folks do not want to share their information with their kids for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's they've got a number of siblings or a number of children, and they all don't get along. And giving one access to the account over another one sometimes can be an issue. Sometimes it's just merely a matter of the situation where that person doesn't want to relinquish authority. We've all known people who say they have an older relative who shouldn't be driving but just won't give up the keys, because that's their freedom. Well, so is their financial situation as well. That's their freedom. So the idea that they're going to just, without any sort of apprehension, say, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't be handling this. Maybe things are a little above my pay grade at this point, and maybe you should take a look at it, or at least kind of sit down with me when I write the bills out every week or every month or whenever I do that. A lot of older folks are not willing to do that, and that's really an issue. And younger people, because we by just the fact of our day-to-day lives, are more in tune to what is a legit situation and what is a fraudulent type of transaction that's being tried to be perpetrated against us. So you have to be involved. I think children should be, and younger people should be very proactive. And to that extent, if you know a neighbor that's older and doesn't have family that lives nearby, reach out, ask them, hey, you're still doing your stuff by yourself. If you ever need a hand with something like that. It's kind of a gray area in the sense that a lot of people don't want to, especially finances. A lot of people don't want to give outsiders, neighbors, and again, even sometimes family members, access or knowledge to what they have and how much they have. But at the same time, you need to include others in your day-to-day handling of your finances, because it's too easy in today's world to lose it. If you don't have anybody that's a family or a friend, and you have funds, then a lot of people have an accountant that they deal with, or maybe an attorney, somebody like that. But there needs to be somebody involved, because you have too much at stake.
When it comes to reporting these crimes, do the victims often report them, or are they embarrassed? Is it ever too late to report these crimes? Like at what point, It's
a great question, actually. Depending on whose statistics you read, they say the majority of fraudulent crime does not get reported. At least, if at the very least, it's a major portion of it. And the reason for that is it's very easy to think about that. Who wants to walk into the bank and go, I think I got my money stolen from me, and I probably provided them the information. Most victims that I talk to always tell me they had a gut feeling toward the end of the transaction that something was wrong, but by then they were kind of deep into it, and they were just hoping things were going to turn out right, but they had a bad feeling to start from. You'd always trust your gut. But in the end, they always said, I feel like such a fool. No, you're not. And if you go to the bank and you have to report something like this, you're going to find out that it gets reported on a pretty regular basis. It's not something that anybody should be embarrassed about, but it is, because it's just human nature. Nobody wants to go up to somebody else and say, geez, I got fooled. I didn't know what I was doing. I gave away some of my money, or I let them have access to my computer or my bank account. Again, it's human nature, and I think that's what accounts for really the majority of it. And beyond that, too, as I spoke with a few minutes ago, people don't want their children or other family members to get the idea that they can't handle their finances. Because what does that mean? Well, that means that the kids are going to take things over, or somebody else is going to take things over. Some people are okay with that. My mom is 86. She gave her checkbook up probably, I think she was about 75 or 76. She said it was not something she wanted to deal with. But not everybody's that permissive about that.
So before we go, if there was one piece of advice that you could give everybody out there, what would it be?
For victims or people who are potentially victims, trust your gut. If it doesn't seem right, don't do it. Number one. There's just a couple of things. Number one. Number two, recognize the sense of urgency. There's no reason to do anything now, whether it be a contractor who knocks on your door and says, I'm taking trees down in the neighborhood, I want to take down yours too, and I'll give you a great price because we're here already, or whether it's the guy who calls you over the phone and tells you he's with the bank and that he needs to move your money because it's in danger where it is, and we have to do it now, or the person who's calling about the warrant that they have for your arrest. Nothing needs to be done right now. Everything has time for you to take a break, put the phone down. If it's dealing with a bank, take yourself down to the bank. Old school, go in, talk to the manager, tell them what you were just told over the phone. If it involves a contractor, then just tell them they'll have to call you back tomorrow or the day after. You're going to do some checking, and you call another contractor, or call again your neighbor, your children, a trusted person in your life that you can bounce this off from. No, if they're calling you on the phone, that means they're not knocking on your door. And if they're not knocking on your door, you have time to take a breath, step back from it, and do some research.
All right. Well, thank you for this great information, Detective Weaver. And it's just good reminder to everybody out there. If you think you're a victim, you think there's something not right going on, just call 911. Report it to the police. Let them know what's going on. Let them investigate.
There's a non-emergency number for the sheriff's office, but I tell people, when they ask what number we should call, nobody ever got arrested for calling 911 if you weren't sure of the situation you were in. So I'd rather have you call there. Our dispatchers and call takers are trained. If it's not an emergency situation, they'll route that to the proper person. And the one time when someone calls the non-emergency number because they think it's not an emergency, and we find out if we'd had real-time law enforcement following this instance just now, we'd have probably been able to catch who did it. So I'd rather err on the side of caution and have them do the right thing, in my mind, which is call 911. It's what we're there for. We want to help you.
All right. Well, thank you, Detective Weaver. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.